You won't believe what happened last summer down at Clearwater Lake. So here's the scoop. My neighbor, let's call her Karen, the kind of HOA president who thinks she runs the whole town, called 911 to have my boat towed. Yeah, seriously, she wanted to tow my boat. But here's the kicker. She didn't even know I'm the official Harbormaster over the entire lake. Yeah, that happened. Let me back up a sec. I've lived on this lakefront property for over a decade now, and for the last 5 years, I've been the Harbormaster. That means I'm the one who issues boating permits, enforces lake rules, and basically keeps everything afloat, literally. But Karen, who just moved in last year and thinks she's some kind of royalty, apparently thought she could call the shots. One afternoon, she storms over, fuming because she spotted my boat docked at my usual spot, right near the community pier. According to her, it was blocking the waterway and violating HOA rules. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Now you know how HOAs love their rules and red tape, right? So without bothering to check who actually owns the boat or who has jurisdiction over the lake, Karen does what she does best. She calls 911. That's right. She calls the cops and demands they tow my boat immediately. I get the call from the dispatcher later that day. Sir, there's a complaint about your boat and someone's on their way. I could almost laugh. Karen had no idea who she was messing with. When the officers arrive, I walk out onto the dock, cool as a cucumber, and introduce myself. Hi, I'm Mark Thompson, Harbormaster for Clearwater Lake. I'm the one in charge of boating regulations here. The looks on the officers' faces were priceless. One officer even whispered, "Well, that changes things." Karen, of course, is standing there with her arms crossed, red-faced and sputtering about HOA bylaws. But here's the twist you didn't see coming. Just as things were settling down, Karen's husband Jim, who's usually the quiet type, steps up. Turns out Jim is a retired Coast Guard officer, and he knows a thing or two about boats. Jim calmly backs me up, explaining the rules Karen was totally ignoring. "My wife's been a bit overzealous lately," he says, shooting Karen a sideways glance. That was the moment the tide really turned. The officers decide to hold off on any towing, and Karen's complaint basically dissolves into thin air. I took a moment to explain the proper docking regulations, safety measures, and why my boat was perfectly legal where it was. Karen tried to argue but quickly realized she was outmatched, not just by me, but by her own husband's quiet authority. Later that evening, I got a call from the HOA board chair, who sheepishly apologized for the whole fiasco. They promised to get their facts straight before making any future complaints. Honestly, it felt like a small victory, but one that reaffirmed why it's important to know who's really in charge, and not let entitled neighbors run wild. Here's the thing. Karen's whole stunt sparked a lot of conversations around the lake. People started talking about boundaries, respect for authority, and the dangers of assumptions. Some sided with Karen, saying she was just protecting the neighborhood, but most agreed she crossed a line. It made me wonder how many other disputes like this simmer under the surface, fueled by misinformation and ego. So, what do you think? Was Karen justified in calling 911 over a boat she thought was illegally parked? Or was this just an abuse of HOA power and ignorance of the real rules? Drop your thoughts below, because this kind of neighborhood drama is all too real, and sometimes the person waving the biggest stick doesn't actually hold the power. If you've ever had a run-in with an overbearing HOA or a neighbor who thinks they know it all, hit that like button and share your story. And don't forget to subscribe for more real-life tales where justice isn't always what it seems. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about boats or property lines, it's about respect, knowledge, and knowing when to stand your ground.